Hey everybody, good morning. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Today we're going to be talking about Alibaba's earnings release. We're going to talk about it. It looks pretty bad. You can see it's already down considerably pre-market, but let's go through exactly why that might be. All right, jumping right into it. For quarter ending December 2021 or Q3 of fiscal year 2022, Alibaba reported normalized earnings per share of $2.64 compared to analyst expectations of $2.54. That beat analyst expectations by 10 cents. Now on the GAAP earnings per share side, they missed by 48 cents here. Analysts had them at $1.66. They reported $1.18. On the revenue side, they missed by $790 million, reporting $38.06 billion compared to analyst expectations of 38.85. All right, so jumping into earnings highlights. So revenue came in at $38.06 billion, or representing about 10% growth year over year, just shy of analyst expectations. Net income came in at $3.2 billion, or negative 74% growth year over year. Now I think that's compared to like something close to 11 or 12 billion in this quarter this time last year. So pretty big cash cow drop there. Again, I think this is citing investments, but how long can you cite that before you start to again miss expectations? Cloud growth, 20% growth year over year. In my opinion, this is below expectations. Anything less than 30 was going to be below there. On the share buyback side, they only did 1.4 billion and they averaged $138 a share. That seems a little bit high. However, during that time period, 138 was a fairly good price. I will say that it is good that they didn't, issue buy a ton more shares at that price because now that we've seen the dip, they'll give them a better buy-in opportunity with the remainder of the share buyback authorization. User growth was 3.5% during the period compared to the previous 2 quarters at 5% and 4%. Free cash flow came in at $11.1 billion, or a negative 20% year-over-year growth. And again, they cited the growth initiatives in trying to drive up revenue as well as user growth. Now, they didn't give any guidance for Q4 or FY 2023 and their growth for Q1. And so with that unchanged of guidance for Q4 of 2022, which is the next quarter, it really does look like growth is going to be flat year over year for this upcoming quarter, which could cause, shouldn't be a surprise now that we see it clear as day, but it may upset some investors when that time comes around, when we see a flat Alibaba year over year in revenue. So that last point brings me to some growth concerns I have for Alibaba moving forward into FY 2023, and I want to go ahead and explain that, so stick with me on this one. So guidance in last quarter was given in FY 2020 of growth between the range of 20 to 23%. For FY 2021, the revenue was at 107.04. Now, with that growth, we can estimate a range for FY 2022 between 128 and 131.6. So after 3 quarters, with this most recent quarter, we can get a revenue of 101.06. And again, there was no guidance update in this latest earnings call, so we're having to stick with what they guided for last quarter. If that remains to be true, Alibaba will need to report in their future earnings in anywhere between $27.34 and $30.54 billion in their next up and coming, right? In last year for Q4 FY 2021, again, that's compared to this upcoming quarter, they reported $28.6 billion. Now, the thing that you have to note is that 28.6 is right in the range of the growth that the revenue we would need to see year over year growth of 20 to 23%. But if they reported 28.6, that would basically mean that they were flat for the year, or year over year, quarter over quarter. So the point I'm trying to make with that is, if they deliver under 28.6, still within their guidance of 20%, we could possibly see Alibaba reporting negative year-over-year growth for Q4, which is a pretty big deal. And I haven't really heard any analysts, I haven't really heard any YouTubers really talking about this risk. And one of the things that draws into question is, what is growth going to look like in 2023? We haven't really seen that. I think some more conservative people are aiming in the $14 to $18 range for growth in FY 2023. But seeing Q4 of 2022, getting into that range of close to, even if it's on the high side of somewhere around, in the say, what's that, less than 10% there. I think that draws up some concern on what the remainder of the year is going to look like. The next year is going to look like when your latest quarter was, single digit growth. Even if they hit their high end of 30.54, Alibaba is going to be reporting single digit growth for the quarter over quarter growth, which is just crazy. Now, they just reported 10% growth. So I guess it's in the realm of possibility that it is going to be lower, but I don't know if analysts have weighed this in. I don't know how that moves forward into 2023. Are we going to see an Alibaba growing at less than 10% year over year? And based off of what I'm looking at for analyst expectations, they still have Alibaba for full year, fiscal year 2022, coming in at $137 billion on average. Now, the low end is at 133. Again, my expectation based off of what Alibaba provided us, and with Q3, we only have one quarter to go left. Their report, I still think they're in the range of 128 to 131 billion dollars, still based off of their guidance. So how analysts come up with 133 up to 148 is beyond me, how that's even possible. And the consensus around 137 billion just doesn't seem possible. Alibaba would have to have a better Q4 than they did than a Q3, which Q3 is where Christmas and all the big selling events are. So there's no way they're going to have a better Q4 than a Q3. It's just not going to happen. And if they did, they'd be like 30-something%, over 30% growth for Alibaba. It's not going to happen. All that to be said is, I think analysts have not caught up yet to I'm not a genius, but just looking at these numbers on Seeking Alpha, these are not right. I mean, they can't be right if what Alibaba said was true with that growth estimate. So with that being said, looking into 2023, you have growth they're estimating 16% growth, but based off of what I just been discussing earlier, if Q4 is going to be flat, what is 2023 going to look like? It could be low single digits. Now, one last point here is, if Alibaba only grew at single digit growth for FY 2023, we're looking at 140 something billion dollars, $143 billion of revenue. So analyst expectations for 2023 are not right, in my opinion. So if you are doing DCF models, if you are doing that, please pay attention to that. Make sure you're not going off of analyst expectations. You have to be doing the research yourself. You need to be going out, looking at these earnings calls and seeing what the company is saying. Analysts are not always right, and it is important for you to make sure that you're verifying what they're saying. And in this case, this looks like old data, does not look correct. Now, I wasn't intending this video to be kind of a poo-poo party for Alibaba and their future growth. It really isn't. It's just kind of where the numbers led me. And before anybody starts getting upset that I'm pooping on Alibaba, look, I realize it's not a popular thing to go out there and say something that's contrary to the popular opinion that Alibaba is worth. In the past, I've said Alibaba is worth $300 a share. They still seem like an incredible value, and they do have a lot of potential. But the thing you have to keep in mind is a year ago, Alibaba was still growing at 20% year over year. There were different things going on. We have to look towards the future and what Alibaba's revenues are going to look like moving forward in order to properly value the company. And in doing such, you actually know what the value is, and you start to find the discrepancies between where the market price is and what the true value is. So all that to be said is, make sure that you're continuing to update your models, make sure you're continuing to update your expectations, and don't just get caught up in, well, it was this back in the past. You got to be open-minded, and you got to be understanding that things do change. And in this case, it does look like Alibaba's growth is slowing considerably, but we will have to wait until Q4 to get guidance for for fiscal year 2023. And that's going to be the big question, is what is growth going to look like in 2023? Right now, I think there's a lot of uncertainty around it. For me personally, it doesn't look good. So at least that's my opinion. I'm more pessimistic. I feel like if they had good things to say about growth in the future, they would have came out with it. If you like my opinion, please consider subscribing. I do videos on personal finance, investing, and stock analysis. I try to keep these things truthful. I try to keep them realistic, and I realize it's not popular for all audiences. So if you like this type of content, please consider liking it, also subscribing. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Frank Finance, out.